Good evening, everyone. Hello. We've just been told by an automatic voice again, and it still scared the life out of me that we're recording again. Typical, isn't it? Well, we've got a bit of a different show this evening. We're talking a little bit about those kind of things that you may necessarily think of as more of a weed, but actually they're kind of cool.
We've been stalking the Verges.
We have not for any roadkill though. We've got no roadkill, but suppose we better make a start.
Absolutely. So, are you passing over to me at that moment?
I am passed it over to you.
Passing over to me.
Subtle hint.
Subtle hint. I can do subtle hints. I'm good at hints, as long as I know what the hint's about. That's the only time I have difficulty when I'm working out what the hint is. Anyway, I'm going to read. I'm going to read the 36th verse of the Tao Te Ching this evening because it's really important. So, and we're going to chat about it for a couple of minutes as well because have a listen. This is what's actually written. Hang on, I've got the wrong one. The pages are flipped. Just give me a moment here.
There's always something, isn't there? We go prepared.
There we go. We are indeed. So, this is the 37th verse of the Tao Te Ching. It says, "The Tao does nothing, but leaves nothing undone. If powerful men could center themselves in it, the whole world will be transformed by itself in its natural rhythms. When life is simple, pretenses fall away. Our essential natures shine through. By not wanting, there is calm, and the world will straighten itself. When there is silence, one finds the anchor of the universe within oneself." Now, those first two lines are a real ponder for thought. The Tao does nothing, but leaves nothing undone. If we just think about that for a little minute, the Tao, if you like, is, according to the Tao Te Ching, is that thing that kind of binds the whole world together, that governs the way that life is, the way life moves, life forms. If we're saying the Tao does nothing, that kind of means leaving things alone. And then there's nothing that's left undone because our world's actually kind of complete. Everything that is needed is out there. Everything we need to live is out there or in here. And then it talks about the peace within and how everything works. And if you think about it, every single issue or problem that there is because man has figured he can do it better than whatever set all this up in the first place could do. And despite the fact that most of us know that that's wrong, we still keep fiddling. Can you imagine if we just let things be the way that they were intended to be, how much simpler our lives would actually be? Well, I think that's. Can you imagine if we didn't hate people, we didn't have angst, we didn't have wars, we didn't try and oppress people, we just let each other crack on. The Tao does nothing and leaves nothing undone. Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Well, anyway,
Don't use that word. Let's play the video and see if anybody knows what it is.
It's time for the animal of the week. And I'm not saying the word that I'm not meant to say.
No. What is... It's a bird. All right, we'll give you that much of a clue. It's a bird. Does anyone know what this bird is? So, do we have anybody who thinks they might know what that bird is? Anybody going for a...
So we've had a starling.
No,
It's not a starling.
not a starling.
Looks like a little robin.
Not a little
It's
robin.
not a little robin.
Not a little robin.
Would you like to put them out their misery?
Put them out. Well, let's see. They used to quite commonly be called hedge sparrows, but they're not sparrows. If you actually looked at the beak, it's very narrow, thin, unlike a sparrow's, which is almost finch-like. So it's not a sparrow.
It's not a blackbird either. That's just come in as well.
No, it's not a blackbird. Its proper name is Dunnock. It's a Dunnock. In fact, when I used to go ringing years and years ago, we used to call them dirty Dunnocks as a term of affection, I guess. But they're a really cool little bird. You've got that kind of small, almost kind of seepy, thin little song. But again, it's one of those, once you know it, you kind of know it. But they are quite common in our gardens. I mean, we see them a lot in the yard. They're pretty rubbish at taking seed from feeders, but they're pretty good at picking up what the other sparrows have actually discarded from the ground. They're kind of like they've got a brown body and a kind of grey head. I mean, we did actually get kind of quite close up there, but that's because, I mean, Chris showed me ages ago how to use the zoom, and I've actually sussed it out now. So we kind of got a slightly blurrier image, but we've got a proper image of the bird. But it's one of those that regularly gets called little brown job.
Shall I show the picture?
Show the picture. Yes, show the picture of this amazing little brown job, which is actually called the Dunnock. So here you see they've kind of got a grey. It's a bit like, I mean, the chaffinches are similar, but it's a bit like that kind of skull cap that Merlin wears in the film Excalibur. But the beak is kind of quite thin, and kind of brown with a red leg, and they're similar size to a sparrow. But as you can see, they can be kind of similarly or confused with the house sparrow itself. Now, one of the things, they're generally quite solitary, but one of the things that's interesting is they have a very kind of different sex life, complicated sex life, if you like, to the majority of birds. You see, if you see a pair that you think are a pair and the male and female are pretty much identical, then it's quite common for each partner in that pairing to actually have 3 other partners as well. They do like to spread it around a little bit, as you might say. And apparently the male Dunnock is quite prone to trying to kind of get the female a little bit excited with his beak, his bill, so that she then ejaculates the sperm that the last male that she had relations with, so that when he mates with her, it's his sperm that does the, unless of course she then goes off and finds another male. And yeah, so if you're into faith, you know, relations of being good, decent and proper, don't be a Dunnock. Don't be a Dunnock, because it's kind of, yeah, they're a bit odd.
They're a bit all over the place.
Yeah. So I suppose it's being, you know, you could have a good old scrap as a sparrow, and they do like a bit of a scrap, or kind of mix it up a bit in the sex life if you're a Dunnock.
Lesser of 2 evils. Which one do you want to take?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a conversation for a different kind of program, really.
I think so.
I think so. Yes. So, is there any other interesting questions? Anything about the Dunnock? Small bird, lives kind of 2 to 3 years generally.
Not what I'm saying.
No, that's it. Right then, we best crack on to the feature video of the show.
Indeed.
This is about Verges. We've got a program at Verges. We're going to look at some of the more common plants we find in Verges and in the bottoms of hedgerows, if you like. And we've actually got a tray of samples.
Whoa! Don't go showing them all off.
I'm not going to show them all off. This one might be familiar. We'll talk about this one in a little while. Incidentally, it hasn't stung me. Anyway, here's the video. Enjoy. This is one of the biggest trees I've seen locally. You don't kind of realise quite how big it is until you actually walk down the path. See, at the moment we're probably something like 5 to 10 metres above where its roots are. So I've only ever seen these trees on places which are quite often wet. Now, it's not a willow because it's got the wrong shaped leaves. This one has had a pretty tumultuous period in the wind just lately. As you can see here, a fairly large branch has broken off, and that must have come down with a hell of a thump. And if you look, it's not just bent, it's broken off completely. It's come down. That's a large piece of wood. It kind of almost looks like it's on its knees, which is a bit of a shame, really. But this is one of those trees that, you know how I keep saying it doesn't matter if you don't know what the names of things are? Well, this is a classic example. You see, the leaves look very kind of birch-like, or generally poplar-like. Not sure about the seeds, I haven't worked those out. And I used to think it was a white poplar, but it's not, because the leaves are wrong. And I thought, well, is it a black poplar? The leaves are right, but the shape of the tree is wrong. Now look at this trunk. This is one of the most amazing tree trunks I have ever seen. So,
can anyone identify any of the plants in the Verge? Nettle. There's more than one kind of nettle.
More than one kind of nettle.
Can you name either of the nettles?
Oh,
Dandelion. Yeah, there was a dandelion in there.
yeah.
Dockweed. There wasn't dockweed. Well, there might have been, but we haven't covered it this evening. Buttercup. No, not a buttercup.
Well, there might have been a buttercup, but it's not one with
Cow parsley. There is cow parsley.
Right. What we're going to do? Let's crack on. We've got a selection of various different things here.
Freshly picked.
Freshly picked. So the first one, and I'm going to model it for Ross, is this one.
Can anyone name what this is?
You know it? How's about that one? Well,
nettle. It is a type of nettle. It is a white flowering dead nettle. Now, this nettle won't sting you at all. You can touch it and you're never going to get stung. So you have to be a little bit careful to not mistake it for anything else. But the biggest identifier is the fact if it's got a white flower on it. So that always comes handy when you're trying to work out which one's not going to sting you. It has heart-shaped, deeply toothed leaves, which you may be able to see, but you cannot. You just about see it. But it has distinctively hairy stem. The leaves aren't that furry, but the stem itself is distinctively hairy and is another good way to tell the difference between the nettles. And it grows best on disturbed land, so on roadside verges, farmland, potentially in your garden if you've done a lot of hard turning over of the soil and left it for a little while. Is this the one you can make tea with? I'm pretty sure.
Not. No.
I think it's the other one.
You probably can, but it's one of the others that is much more tea. Just looking at these lovely little leaflets looking here in between the flowers. I don't know if you can see those. They're really, really ornate.
No,
spiky.
It doesn't quite come out
there, but go find some white flowering dead nettles. They're out there at the moment. They're in flower, and they've got these most beautiful little spiky leaflets in between the leaves on the leaves on the edge of the flowers.
Now, what is interesting as well with the dead nettle is if you can see where the flowers droop over to the side, they're actually really hard to get pollen out of. So there's a lot of long-tongued insects that go to these specifically. There's a few moths and there's a few bees. They are the red mason bee, the white-tailed bumble. You get green tortoise beetles. You get tiger moths and you get angle-shades moths as well. They're all long-tongued, and they are pretty much the only insects that can get inside that flower to gain any kind of food, pollen, anything like that.
It's quite amazing the way actually that some insects have become so exclusively adapted. They're actually dependent on, of course, a lot of them on a single flower. So if for any reason that flower has a really bad year, or there's a problem, or mankind decides to knock it out, then you obviously then knock out the insect that feeds on it as well. Classic example. So there you go. Right anyway, then. Would you like to model the next one for me?
I can, if I try not to get stung.
So, what about this one then? Oh, there you go. Now this one is your traditional stinging nettle. Now, it's funny, right? I am utterly convinced that the most of the stinging that we get from stinging nettles is totally psychosomatic. And you'll go, no, it isn't. But I tell you, it's weird, right? I pretty much only ever get stung when I brush against them when I haven't seen them. Yeah. I mean, as you see, quite happy to stroke them. Look.
I'm not that brave, but
not getting stung. To get another of our plants earlier, I had to walk through a bed of stinging nettle in shorts, and I haven't got stung. It's when I'm not aware that they're there and I turn around and brush against them that I get stung. So that's pretty bizarre in itself. But they're actually one of the most important plants that we've got. And even if you're not a fan of them, you really, really should have an area in your garden dedicated or where stinging nettles are allowed to grow. If we didn't have stinging nettles, we wouldn't have red admiral butterflies because the caterpillars are laid on stinging nettles and they eat stinging nettles. We wouldn't have peacocks. We wouldn't have red admirals, as well as many, many other beetles and insects. They really are a food plant for half of our insect life. And as we well know, without a lot of our insect life, there would be no life. So they are pretty amazingly important flowers to have. And then I remember when we used to go gardening back in the day, and people would say, you've got to take them out because my grandchildren will sting themselves on them. I say, yes, they will. Once. And then they learn because they are important. And this is the one. I've never drunk nettle tea. Probably ought to actually make a point of making some and checking it out because I am told it's really, really nice.
nettle soup.
Nettle soup. Yeah. I've actually joined a Facebook group, Hedge Witchery and wild flowers, wild plants. And there's an awful lot of all the different things and the uses for the hedgerow plants and the countryside plants that you can actually use. So yeah, that's the nettle. Amazing plant. I like them. We always have there's always a bit of discussion in our house as to whether or not we should have nettles in certain places, or I mean, I think they should be everywhere. I love them. But we always have to kind of just have a bit of a point where we can have nettles and where we can't. So
Well, we just had another comment come back in the chat. I have tincture for my hay fever that contains nettle. I get it from my herbalist.
well, hey, there you go. There are lots more uses than we've dug up, if you like, in the last few days.
We're talking about another plant that has use. If you would like to pick up my next one, sir.
That'd be
Just
this
that
one
one.
here, yes.
Can anyone name a use
Or
for
even
this plant?
Name the plant.
Can you name the plant and a use for it?
It's very popular with insects, it has to be said. And the
Lavender is not a lavender.
The stem is actually quite spiky.
It is a borage.
Borage.
Now, borage is an edible herb. So we're talking about herbalists and using it for your hay, what you're using stinging nettles for your hay fever. Borage is very popular garnish for summery drinks. It's very popular for pims to put into your pims.
Very pretty flowers. Right?
The young leaves, they taste apparently like cucumber. I don't personally drink pims, so I couldn't tell you. But apparently, that it's nice to have in pims, and the young leaves taste like cucumber, and apparently really nice to put in a salad. So maybe there's something else that you can try as well. But I mean, if you want to grow them in your garden, they grow in sunny spots.
I've spent 20 years removing them from our garden.
But they grow in sunny spots, and they need well-draining soil to grow. But they're also very useful if you have a vegetable patch, so maybe an allotment, or part of your garden where you grow your carrots and your anything else, fruit and veg in your garden. If you plant borage near your fruit and veg, it attracts insects to that area, entices insects to pollinate in these areas. So we may have spent our time putting it out of our garden, but we don't have fruit and veg patches in our garden, and we don't have an allotment.
Well, we got fruit.
Yeah, we haven't got a full on raised bed for all these parts. But the leaves are hairy, and people with sensitive skin can get dermatitis from touching borage. So do be careful.
I've got dermatitis.
Well, clearly you've just been pulling borage out of the garden for the last 20 years, and you've got sensitive. Well, you did have sensitive skin, and it's done you over a little bit.
No, I think I had dermatitis before I knew what borage was, to be fair. But I have to admit, I've dug it out of our garden, and every time it raises its head in the garden, it gets removed. Um, it has got a most spectacularly beautiful blue flower, um, but there's not much flower compared to the amount of borage, and they can get pretty huge. They have a pretty massive taproot, um, so you need to try and get the whole of that out. But the problem is, if you've got borage and you don't do anything about it, you tend to end up with borage and nothing else. Um, so for me, they're an absolutely fantastic plant to see in the countryside, in a verge, on the edge of the field. They really are. But in your garden, they're a definite no-no for me. Um, so yeah, borage. But the insects love it. There's insects, bees are all over it. So on that respect, it's great for your wild, your wild animal wildlife garden, but possibly just best left in the verge,
I would think
as
so.
it were. Borage. Yeah.
And the next one,
Oh, who knows what this one is?
very common.
Very common, especially this time of year.
Cow parsley.
Cow parsley it is. Yeah. So pretty amazing. They can grow pretty big. They can have pretty chunky stems. They have these big masses of white flowers. They're a very early source of pollen, and they're a source of nectar for the yellow-tipped butterfly. And you've probably seen a few of those around just lately, because they are the main, if you like, the main insect that likes to use them. Very, very good for that. Used to be known as Queen Anne's flower. Tradition says that they bloomed, especially when Queen Anne went out to have a look for them, which is, uh, yeah, which is a
little bit different.
yeah, it's a bit of a myth,
We
bit of a
do
story.
like a little bit of a myth and a story and a
Oh,
bit of history here and there
absolutely.
with some dates.
Um, they are they are completely edible. Um, but the only thing is there are one or two flowers out there that are similar that are not edible. So we probably would advise not trying to eat them. But the cow parsley, of all those flowers that are similar, and we've got another one coming up shortly, um, the hogweed's got the white flowers on the top rather
Cow
than
parsley.
any other colour. What did I just say?
Hogweed.
What am I? Consider myself an expert. So the white flowers, cow parsley. Yeah, enjoy. If you're a bit caught short, haven't taken your packed lunch with you, and you're sure it's cow parsley,
Have
it'll
a
keep you
munch.
going for the afternoon.
Have a munch.
Yep,
Now, next one. Hogweed.
hogweed.
Now, I have had a bit of an experience with hogweed and another lovely plant called ragwort. Now, we've only got hogweed here today because I refuse to go near any ragwort anymore. But when I was a wee nipper,
If you wish, actually, to there's a video on the Simple Life YouTube channel about hogweed, about the plant that we actually had in our garden last year. So if you want to go and find that, go have a look.
now, when I was a wee nipper, I used to be a part of Cubs and Beavers, and they did a big open activities day up in Northbourne Estate. And it was great fun, really enjoyed myself. I had sports week coming up the next week at school, and I was really looking forward to it until I sat cross legged in a bed of hogweed and ragworts. I then suddenly discovered my legs were very itchy and they started to blister. We then went to the hospital, and I'm wrapped up in these very strange leg sleeves all week with very large blisters and very itchy legs to find out that this stuff had caused me to have a serious allergic reaction, along with the ragwort. I then spent the rest of my sports day or sports week at school Sat at home feeling sorry for myself because I was only 8 or 9 at the time and I really wanted to go out and run around and do all the sports days. Didn't happen that year, and I therefore refused to go anywhere near the stuff unless I absolutely have to these days. But if you want to find some hogweed, then it can be found along hedgerows, and roadside verges. It flowers between May and August, but can flower all year round. And you can see how similar when we talk about the two being very close together, cow parsley and hogweed, how very similar they are. But can anyone tell me what family hogweed is actually part of? No. Well, hogweed is actually part of the carrot family, believe it or not. So, another little interesting fact for you. And because we like a bit of history, let's have a bit of history. So, the hogweed is native to our country. The giant hogweed is not. That was brought over many, many years ago when we decided to go and explore different countries. And it's very hard to tell the difference between the two of them, other than height. But even then, it doesn't vary that much.
Is the giant hogweed the bigger one?
No way. God, you got it in one. But there's a little bit more history to that because way back when, in this day and age, if you want to go outside and play in the garden, and you get some water pistols out when it's nice and hot, and you'll run around and you'll shoot each other with water pistols. Well, way back when, hogweed was used very similarly because the stem is hollow. People would then put a bit of water in there, put a finger over the end of it, and then blow through it, and they could use it as a water pistol. It could also be used as a little like pea shooter as well. Now, who remembers those straws and the little bits of paper you used to roll up in school, and you put it in a straw and you'd blow it, and it would shoot out a bit of paper at your mate? Well, they used to use hogweed for a similar use way back when. Oh, so there's a little bit more history for you.
A bit like the old Indians.
Spitting darts, what they were called.
Yeah,
Anyway,
definitely. All right, let's crack on with the next exciting plant. So we've actually trimmed this down because when I went and picked it, it kind of came out and it was about 1 meter long. But
well, you can model this one yourself. Oh,
almost.
there we go.
Looks like something climbing the arm, doesn't it?
That might give it away as to what it actually is.
Yeah, maybe it's some kind of military
Uniform.
rank office of rank. Yeah. Anyway, it is. Would you like to take it back, Sarah? Yes.
Just this once.
When I grew up, we called it sticky weed because, well, basically, it's a weed that's sticky, and it just kind of fits. But it actually kind of has got these fibers on it which will grab hold of anything that goes past. The idea being that you drag it and drop it in somewhere else so that it can then populate another area. But its actual name is cleavers. Not quite sure why, actually. Haven't managed to dig that bit of information up. It's actually called cleavers. And it's the stuff that kind of grows in amongst everything. And it's not like kind of bindweed or convolvulus or anything like that. But it just kind of gets in there and expands and just kind of strangles everything. But it's got some really good uses. It's the whole plant in the first instance is a really good source of vitamin C. So if you're vitamin C deficient in any way, have a cleavers sandwich or make a paste out of it. I don't know what it would taste like as a tea or infusion.
You
but
could have it like candy floss.
Almost, yeah. Absolutely. But it's actually also associated with weight loss. Maybe because it's a bit of a diuretic. But yeah, there's a plant associated with weight loss, good source of vitamin C, and it's a diuretic. Mind you, tea's a diuretic, isn't it?
I believe so.
It is indeed. In fact, if I remember rightly, your nana used to call tea
Wee brew.
wee brew or pea brew.
She still makes wee brew. You
Yeah.
go around there, she goes, "You like a cup of tea?" And you have a cup of tea, and you spend half your visits like going to the toilet every 5 minutes.
Indeed. But there you go. So anyway, that's
Ooh,
cleavers. But I say I
cleave.
don't think I've ever seen ever quite as much out there as there is this year.
Cleave apparently means to stick closely to things.
Well, that will probably have some reason as to why it's called cleavers then. Makes sense, doesn't it, really?
It would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. Yeah, if you had a slightly shorter version, you put it on your shoulder and say, yes, I'm a major or a general or
Yeah, right.
something.
Don't big yourself up too much. Well, and we do have to apologise in advance for our next prop. Got a bit battered and bruised on its journey. It's had a rough life getting here, so it does look a little bit sorry for itself. But it is still technically a dandelion. It's just not as kind of cool as they normally look with their big circular heads, should we say.
It was a full circle when I picked it up, and it wasn't until we put it in the tray with the other plants that it kind of became a bit second rate. But
It pooed itself in another term. A lot of it fell off, and yeah,
yeah, interesting analogy. I'm actually going to put it down and
let it rest.
yes.
Well, the official name for the dandelion family is, right, I may butcher this, but I will give it my best shot. Taraxacum officinale. I hope I've said that right, but I'm not entirely sure. You've been using it as a clock, clearly.
Well, I have to admit, Ross's girlfriend is here at the moment, and when she came in, she said, "Oh, make a wish." I said, "You blow this in here, you'll be in trouble, girl." She didn't. Thank
Well, the leaves, stems, flowers, and roots can all be used for medicinal purposes. I couldn't go quite into depth of what all they are, but they can be used in olden times with all the myths, the legends, and everything else that goes around as part of medicine. So the whole plant could be used, not just one piece, not just like the borage where you put some of it in your salad and some of it in your drink. You could use the whole dandelion for some sort of medicine. You can see it all year round and they will grow everywhere. Doesn't matter where you are, they will find somewhere to grow and to flourish. They are very versatile, pretty much. I mean, I'd be surprised if you saw one in the Sahara Desert, but on the whole, in the UK, you can see them everywhere. I've seen them in cracks in pavements. I've seen them out in the countryside. I've seen them in the middle of roads. Not that they last very long,
you.
but
Quite often in the middle of lawns.
they will grow everywhere. Now, they are classed as a weed, but in some cases, you might want to leave them solely for fun for your kids or your grandkids.
No, more than just fun, right? But always again, try and leave them if you can when they're growing early in the season, because they're really important for especially for bumblebees when they come out of hibernation, especially the poor old queen. As we said in a previous program, when she first emerges, she's on her own. She's got to get enough food to generate enough eggs and build enough of a nest, and then enough food to keep them all going. And dandelions are a really important source of nectar, pollen for bumblebees. So where you possibly can, when they first start growing in the beginning of the year, it's really important to leave them, because as we know, bumblebees keep us alive. No bumblebees know us. So they are actually really important at the beginning of the year for the bumblebee population.
Now, talking about myths and legends and all little hoo-has and things that you'll hear. Now, there is the myth that if you touch one, you're going to wet the bed tonight. So you're going to wet the bed tonight. I'm going to wet the bed tonight. And anyone else who touches one is going to wet the bed tonight, apparently.
So
in myth.
So if your girlfriend doesn't actually want to stay tonight,
I'll get her to touch it as well.
you're going to wee yourselves together.
Why not? How romantic. What a scenic Scenic romantic time we'll be having.
Yeah, shall we move on?
Yeah, I think we'll move on.
Move on. Okay, so
The final one.
this is not the best example, but hopefully you can see. Can we actually get some of those there flowers on in shot? It's been a bit difficult because the minute you kind of touch them.
Someone's got it. I've just seen Hawthorne in the chat.
Yeah, Hawthorne. It is Hawthorne. Hawthorne is fantastic, fantastic shrub, tree,
bush.
But they are, if you like, they're steeped in countryside lore, countryside, if you like, spirituality. They are the Celtic, if you like, mythology, spirituality, the Celtic alphabet, the Ogham, and Hawthorne is, funny enough, the letter H. It's the plant or the tree that represents Queen Mab, Queen of the May, Fairy Queen. It's also the plant that gives us May blossom. And it's funny, most years May blossom seems to know exactly how our month work. They almost seem to come to life. The May blossom appears almost on May the 1st and kind of turns slightly pink and stops on the 31st of May. But like so many other of our plants this year, they seem to be confused as to when the seasons are starting and finishing, because they didn't really kick in till kind of middle of the 3rd week of May. And it's only the last few days that they've really, really started painting the countryside and our roadways white. If you have a look when you're out driving along, those white trees on the side of the road, they're hawthorn. Unlike, well, generally kind of February into March, which is blackthorn, and we did a road, if you like, tour of the Sandwich bypass to show you the blackthorn earlier in the year. Well, now it's hawthorn. But the way, if you're not sure, you tell the difference. If you like, blackthorn has black stems and hawthorn has much whiter stems. In fact, it used to be called whitethorn. Blackthorn, you get the blossom first and then the leaves. The blackthorn leaves are much more kind of traditional leaf shape, whereas the hawthorns have got a very much kind of sculptured leaf shape.
We have one comment come in the chat.
Right.
I love the hues of pink and occasionally a deep red hawthorn blossom.
Absolutely. But they also get that red, you contrast when the hawberries come into we talked about them last year, September and October, and they actually will literally, where they paint the countryside white at the moment, they will paint it red in the autumn. Now, the only other vitally important difference between blackthorn and hawthorn is I've not really known of any great uses for the hawberries. But blackthorn, that fruits with the sloe.
The holy grail of gins.
The holy grail of gins, absolutely. And that is one of the most amazing concoctions because sloes are disgusting. They're horrible, really sour fruit.
Gin?
It's a really horrible drink as well.
Don't
put
like
the two
it.
together, put a bit of sugar in, and you have the most delicious drink. Anyway, we're off task. This is hawthorn, and we're talking about blackthorn. So anyway, it's obviously it's quite often found in hedgerows. It's popular with wildlife as nest sites for protection and food and things. And the other thing is it's quite slow growing. So where when you're in the countryside, you see some really, really big hawthorns, and we get them down at the brooks where we are, you can be pretty certain that that stretch of land or that spot that it stood on has been like that for a long time, because it takes a fair amount of time for a hawthorn to become big. So yeah, an indicator of a land that's quite ancient and quite possibly has got a real feel to it. So anyway, that's our
Verge segment.
Verge episode. So we put the post out on the Circle page yesterday,
Group.
the Circle group yesterday. Uh, we've got to change things up. And to a certain extent, those of you that are here tonight, we thank you for coming, but it kind of exemplifies the problem. We cannot maintain the Circle the way it's running. It takes 15 to 20 hours a week generally to get all the shows together, to plan them, to sort them out, put the videos together, film them, record them, mix them, and sort them out. And we, unfortunately, membership hasn't grown, and we cannot sustain this level of input and live the rest of our lives when the membership hasn't grown. And so, based, if you like, on the cliche, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And we cannot continue in this fashion. So we are going to make some changes. And basically, we're going to go through what they are now. And hopefully you'll understand why we're doing that. Hopefully you'll understand what we, why we're trying to do things differently. But again, this is the chance for to have a listen and give us some feedback, see what you think, and we're going to go from there. But we've got a list of changes. I'm going to read them through right now. But before we start, we should just say that we really do appreciate that the people that are here that have mostly stuck with us throughout the whole time. There are 2 or 3 people that have actually let us know they can't come tonight, and they've let us know why. And we absolutely get that flavour, we get that loyalty, and we love it. And we've worked really hard to try and find some more people like you that have got what we've done and have come on this journey with us. So we've got to try and find other ways and do things differently and see how that will work out. So this is what we're going to do in no particular order. This is just the way that we've written them down. Okay. So we're going to reduce the levels of membership to just 2. There's going to be the, if you like, the £15 membership that everybody here is on, and the benefits will stay exactly the same. Exactly, if you like, if that was a full membership. So everything that you've got, everyone that's here still stands. That's the 15% off, the 2 walks a year. I haven't got the whole list now, but everything is, nothing changes. We've got one gentleman who's with us, he's not here tonight, who is on the full membership, and we'll be reducing his down to the 15. And we will still be having the £10 membership, which will effectively get the access to the website, membership site, when that's sorted out, and come to the shows.
But just as a thank you, we are just going to leave everyone's as it is, because a lot of you guys have been here from the start and have supported all of our journey and have come along with us and have supported us and have come to the shows, have given so much input and even given us some knowledge that we didn't know within these shows. So just as a thank you, we've just kept yours as it is. Just to say thank you.
Obviously, the website has expanded over the last couple of weeks so that people can actually book on to the events we've got coming up. And incidentally, it would be great if you want to come on to any of those to book on. Now, right now, we know we haven't got the facility for the reduction to come on the event when you buy into it, but we will make sure that you get that back, and that's probably when you come to the event. We'll let you have your refund there and then. And obviously, if it's to the shows that are specifically for you, whether that's the one at Betts Hangar or the one at Whitehorse Wood, please let us know you're coming, because that would really help us just to know. And incidentally, don't forget, in 2 weeks' time, we've got the one at Warman Manor. We've got the one at Dode Church. That's starting to sell out now. We'll have a bigger announcement about that next week, because it looks like we're actually going to be running that event with another organisation. So that should be really, really cool. But the website is going to have a members site on it. And on that members site will be all of the past shows, so that they can actually be accessed like Netflix, if you like. So they will all be there. They won't be then kind of sitting there hiding on YouTube and access on the Facebook group. We're just going to be putting them straight into that, and there'll be a username and a password to get into that. So that's coming. We're going to sort that one out. We're going to be stopping. We're not going to be running an hour every week. We just can't keep that up for so small of people. What we're going to actually broadcast is 1 2 hour show on the third Thursday of the month. That's so that one of our members who can't get here on the last Thursday of the month will be able to come along. Now, there's still a question mark over whether we exclusively do that on Zoom or whether we possibly do it on YouTube, or maybe both, because obviously Zoom's got that kind of member only thing about it, although I believe that you can do membership only on YouTube. But the thing is with YouTube, most people these days can actually watch it on their TV in their living room.
And it's public. People can sit down and their For You page on YouTube will come up with recommended videos of us, unlike Zoom, where they have to give us an email or some form of contact, which then we're reducing the barriers to then get more people to come in, more people to see what we're doing, more people to learn and explore a bit more of the outdoors with us. Unlike at the moment where we're on Zoom and we're having to get emails to send out links, so then they potentially can go into junk files. Going into YouTube just makes everything a lot more public and a lot more open for people to find.
So there's that. Now we're also, again, we're going to carry on as we are to the end of June. So there's another 3 shows with the exact same format as we've been running up to now.
However, we are not going to be doing guided walks. When we stop doing the hour shows each week at the end of this month, we're going to stop them. So for next week, what we're going to do is a celebration of our guided walks. There won't be a fresh one next week. It will be 3 videos or 4 of our favorite parts of walks. So I'm going to choose one, Dad's going to choose one, and we've left 1 or 2 down to you guys. So if you've got a part of a guided walk that you thought was brilliant, or you had a laugh at, or you thought, oh, I want to watch that again for a certain part, then let us know in the Facebook group or get in touch by email, and we can get that part of that walk onto next week's show for you to have a look back at. We will potentially be doing them every so often as a YouTube video rather than within a live show. But we haven't quite worked out how we're going to do it yet.
No, there's going to be we're going to put together a new YouTube channel specially. It's not going to be tagged on to the Simple Life one as is at the moment. We're going to be getting that set up at the weekend. We're going to, if there's any videos that are on the Simple Life YouTube that are relevant, then they will appear on the Simple Life Circle YouTube. But we're going to set it up probably with 5 to 10 videos. And then we're going to aim to put 2 videos on a week. One will be something from the shows that we've done so far, and one will be something brand new. So there'll be something there that features, but we're going to be trying to put them on where we can around about 10 minutes, because YouTube likes videos that are around about 10 minutes. And we're going to work with that kind of philosophy. It's just, so we're just literally shaking it up, trying something different, trying something that we can actually manage. Now, the one thing we would say, I mean, obviously, as you know, we've done our level best to try and increase the membership. We've tried every single method that we can think of at the moment, but there's an awful lot of, if you like, people are a bit sick and fed up with Zoom. Having said that, though, if in the next 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, we manage to find, for example, 20 new members, then we would have to have a very, very different rethink. But it's, we've got a gentleman who's prepared to come on as a guest at the end of this month. But it was, if you like, it's very difficult on YouTube when it's got the participants button written there straight away on the screen. Anyone who comes in knows exactly how many people are sitting there, and they know that we're one of them. And poor old Trevor from the Fox Project last week came on, and I think there were 8 people.
And we
So
had
it's
Dan come on as well, and he did a brilliant presentation. And it was almost heartbreaking to see there was not that many people here to see it. And it comes down to pretty much, if we're asking these people to come along and we think they are doing such a brilliant thing, if they're a charity like the British Divers Marine Life Rescue, and we're trying to push them and promote them, because we're not paying them to come on, they're coming on for free to try and gain some publicity, and we haven't got the people coming along to view that. It is very hard for us to maintain the level we're working at the moment.
So we hope that you understand. We hope that you'll continue the journey with us, and try and change things around a little bit. And let us know what you think. I mean, if you understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, that would be great to hear. If you've got an idea that you think would be brilliant that we haven't thought of, please let us know. We're open to anything. I mean, I love doing these shows. I love putting the videos together. I really, really do. But I just am so busy with my normal work, and to add 15, 20 hours on top is just becoming very, very hard work when we haven't got the membership.
So,
on another note, though,
well, they'll quickly, before we move on, there will be still live. There will be that live show. It will be 2 hours on the 3rd Thursday of the month. Within that, we may have a guest. We may have a special walk feature. We're not sure how we're going to work it yet, but that will be a 2-hour show, which we could start at 7 or we could start at 8 for 2 hours. At the end of the day, I don't think either of us mind if it's 7 or 8 o'clock. So if you would prefer an 8 start for 2 hours or a 7 start for 2 hours, then just let us know.
Even if it's a different day of the week, would be considerably better. We're quite happy to consider that. So yeah, that's what it is. Now you may have heard mentioned we're going to be part of an event with Radio Kent at a place called Reuters in Tunbridge Wells. I'm actually going down to meet Anna Louise, the Radio Kent DJ presenter, on Saturday to actually look at where we're going to work this, how it's going to work. We're going to be doing an activity based on the 5 Senses events. It's going to be an introduction, a kind of taster. So really looking forward to that. I'm also on Radio Kent again on Sunday at around about 5:10. So it would be dead cool if you were able to come along and have a listen to that. That would be fantastic. It's just, do you know what? It's nice when you're managing to reach an organisation like Radio Kent who are prepared to take you on board, back you, invite you to their show, invite you to their party down at Reuters. And I'm really, really excited about it. So have a listen in on Sunday, and spread the word as far as you possibly can. Let everybody know, anyone that you know. I might even do a little Facebook Live or something from Reuters on Saturday. I'll certainly shoot a little video to put into the circle. So that's really exciting. But let us know what you think about the changes. Please book on to the outdoor events, whichever ones you want to come to. And, you know, we're changing these around a bit, but let's try and really make this one work. Thank you so much for your support over the last 7 months. 7 months, can you believe that? Anyway.
Thank you very much, everyone.
I think that's about it for the minute.
And let us know what videos you would like to see next week in the kind of celebration of the guided walks. And we will see you all next week.
All right. Thank you very much.